Welcome, everybody. We appreciate everyone moving into yet another session here. I wanted to introduce the ISA International RAP Task Force to everyone. I'm going to let them all go through and introduce themselves one by one, but wanted to give everybody just some quick insight onto what this task force is about. And it's really to give ISA insight into some deeper understanding of the RAP community at large. So really from the end user perspective at the moment to find out what those unique challenges are and opportunities, and how the association, what a lot of people don't understand is there's an association behind that expo, and the association is behind the scenes creating programs, services, doing a lot of advocacy work. So if you remember, whenever COVID hit, we had to get the sign and graphics industry as a whole deemed critical infrastructure for people to get back to work, to still be able to open their doors. So a lot of that was done behind the scenes from our advocacy team. So a lot of those things going behind the scenes, and without this valuable input, we're not able to move those things forward. So we want to give the RAP community a home and address any kind of particular issues they have, and look at some of those opportunities, how we can support the community better. That's really want to put this group of individuals together to help the community's home, to be your voice. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin Pate. He's going to be leading the panel once more, but also give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Justin, it's all yours. I'm gonna step away.
Thanks, dude. And if you could do me a favor, just while we're out, just contact Nick and Bruno, see if we can give them a helping hand.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
That'd be great. So welcome, everyone. This is panel discussion number 2. And the topic for this one is going to be specifically how to find the life-work balances, the challenges everyone faced in 2021, information on hiring employees and keeping employees, how to succeed in getting confidence to pivot. And unlike the other first panel discussion, this one is really focused on installers and wrap shops. So nothing about manufacturing or anything like that. We're just going to go deep on, if you're a wrap shop or an installer, lots of great information there. So before we get to the first question and kind of how this is going to work, I'd like to pass it over to each one of you to introduce yourself and say hi. We'll begin with Tim.
What's up, everyone? Tim Evans, Pro Sign and Graphics in Columbus, Ohio, and founder of Rapper Mapper.
Krystal.
Krystal with Candy Wraps down in Orlando, Florida.
Destiny.
Destiny Conley, St. Louis, Missouri, representing Vinyl Images.
And Alex has been working so hard she turned into a logo.
I don't know why my video won't work, but Alex with Bismarck Sign Co. out in Bismarck, North Dakota, one of the owners.
Awesome. And Nick? I think your mute's on, maybe.
That's better now.
Yes. Okay.
Nick Caminiti from Exotic Graphics, Melbourne, Australia. I'm very honored to be up here, be asked to be involved.
Awesome. It's great to have you all on board. Bruno Didi is going to be trying to come on. Craig is going to get him helping onto the stage. But before that, so basically how it's going to work is we have 30 minutes to chat it up and talk about these topics that I just mentioned. So I have very specific questions that I'm going to ask, but it's a group, so I don't want to have this to go to someone specifically ahead of time. I liked fate. I love fate. So what I've done is I have, if you can see it on camera, I'll pull it down here. I have some Yellow Tools squeegees, the mini squeegees, and I have all your names on them. And I have my favorite koozie in the world. Nick, you might appreciate this. This is my Rap Life koozie. It's one of my favorite video series I've ever made. I made it with Nick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shake this up, and I'm going to reach in, and I'm going to pull out the name. And this one goes to Destiny. You are first up for the question. And the question is, I think there are 2 major issues that had a lot of wrap shops faced in 2021. Which were supply chain issues and finding plus keeping employees. I'd like to begin with employees. What were your challenges and how did you overcome them? And Destiny can answer, and then everyone can just chime in if you have something else. So let's get to
it. So challenges as far as employees in 2021. Actually, can you rephrase the question? Can you say it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, basically it seemed like in 2021, everyone was growing. You're having more work come on board, and it was tough to find employees in the first place, and then it was hard to find good employees, and if you did find a good employee, it was hard to keep them. So it's just a weird vacuum where you had the growth, which is great, which the industry is expanding, but then how did you find like, okay, we have good employees and how do we keep them? And if they leave, then how do you find new ones? It seemed to be, that was the biggest hurdle a lot of shops face this year.
Right. I think the biggest thing for us is just communication. I think the biggest thing for any business is communication with your team and being completely transparent with the team. These are 2021 is a different time than 2020 and 2019 and things that we're used to. So just making sure that everybody felt inclusive on the same team, and communication is a massive factor in that. And whether it be a group type communication or one-on-one type communication, just making sure that everybody's on the same page. We're all in the same direction. We're all rowing in the same direction, to, retain your current staff, finding new staff, because the growth in different areas, as you pivoted, with this time, is basically, making sure that the description and the job that you're looking for is completely clear what you're wanting. So when the person comes in, it's not like, oh gosh, well, we might have this position for you, but you may come over here and you may do this and you may do that, which understandably that happens, but just what expectations are as a company are we looking for with our team, and then clearly presenting it to them to make sure that they understand, yeah, okay, I want to take this on, I understand what the job is and can move forward. But communication's huge.
Yeah, I think, I remember talking with John years ago, and he's your brother with Vinyl Images. And he said, when you guys were first starting up, you guys you wore a lot of different hats. And as you grew as a company, you started kind of finding your lanes and kind of not jumping out of that. Did you find with the employee kind of turnover and change that you kind of had to sometimes jump in and do things that you weren't used to, or?
Oh, absolutely. I'm the CFO here at Vinyl Images. I haven't done payroll in, I can't even tell you how long. And I literally had to jump in as an owner and do payroll for quite a few weeks, just because, you had to transition from one team member to a next team member, which I actually feel like should be some your company's protocol. If that's not something that you do, and you're not used to wearing the payroll hat, or you're not used to wearing the bill pay hat, or you're not used to wearing the purchasing hat, you probably should jump into those positions, because wow, things change. Where I could rock through payroll in no time. You've got 401k, you've got things that are just like, oh, okay, yeah, I probably should do that on a regular basis, because it's definitely different. So yeah, I mean, you have to jump in those and not be rusty.
That's a good point. I like that. And Tim, we had a kind of a walk through the other day, and you made a good point where, and it came up earlier in a panel discussion, it's not how much you pay the person, it's kind of creating culture. You find that helps a lot with retaining employees.
Absolutely. I've been doing this probably 30 years, and you've got some people that claim that it's all about the money, but when it comes down to it, it's very rarely ever about the money. People want to feel included. They want to feel valued. They want to feel part of the team. They want to feel like they're coming someplace and making a difference. And I don't care, you pay them $1 million, and the minute they lose that core sense of being wanted and being valued, they're still going to be out the door.
I'll be honest with you, paid me $1 million, I could fake it for a long time though.
That's the thing. But see, that's the thing. You can fake it, but your heart's not in it. You know what I mean?
That's
and
true.
People pick up on it. And the morale and the culture suffers as a result.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. I'm going to dip into the Wrap Life koozie right now, and I'm feeling through. And Nick, you are up for this question. All right, question number 2 for panel discussion today is, this year has been a big challenge getting enough material and/or the specific brand and type you normally use. 2022, honestly, looks to be more, if not the same. What has been your experience with this down under, and how do you plan to overcome this new reality?
It's funny that I got this question, because I came out of a meeting yesterday with my accounts lady and my brother. We've had 3 price increases last year through our suppliers, and we've just been told that we're going to get hit pretty hard with stock. So we're moving next door a factory, and we've got a budget allocated for our fit out, and yesterday we pinched out of that, and we've just purchased, we're actually going to hold some stock. So I'm a bit of a gambler. I'll say not a gambler, a calculated risk taker. And we forecast through last year what we used, and we've brought some stock in, because I can't afford to be that company that can't get stock. So we've got too big overheads. We need to turn work over. We've had meetings with our designers as well. We're going to have to start designing smarter. We're holding a lot more digital film than colored film because we can always print the colors. We need to start selling to our clients what we can actually offer instead of letting them dictate what they want. I'm not saying that we're going to give them a bad service, but hey, matte charcoal is a bit easier to sell into than a custom color that you're only going to use once off. So yeah, we're trying to forecast. It is a bit of a risk, I'm not going to lie. But we looked at it at the end of the day. I reckon we're still going to get hit probably with another 2 price increases next year. If I hold that stock on the floor, I think I'm going to be better off in the long run, but we've just got to get the cash flow to hold it. So probably, very smart in the way of we've built a bit of a kitty there that we can, fortunately put money aside to hold that. But yeah, you definitely want to be above, like a few steps ahead of the game, because if you leave it to the last minute, I think you'll be standing around trying to chase product.
What else have you, everyone on the panel discussion, have you found interesting that let's say you work with Avery or 3M or Oriflame or a major brand, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I can't use that anymore. I'm going to have to pivot to a different brand. Have you found that in your experience this year? No? Yes?
It appear to anybody. We have had to do that a little bit. We've always been more of a 3M shop. Most of our print film, you talked about earlier on in your sessions this morning that having that good relationship with your distributors through all the years. I was fortunate. They both kind of let me know, hey, listen, there's going to be a shortage coming. So if you need stuff, get it now. So we stocked up on a ton of 3M wrap material. But as far as getting the colors, that's been a challenge. And so we've always been just kind of the 3M shop per se. But we've switched to using a lot of Avery colors because if we can get whatever we can get as far as color wise, that's what we've had to do.
Yeah, I know that hopefully Bruno comes on, but I remember talking to him and I'm like, how's it going this year? And he's like, we're busy, but I'm using different material than we've ever used before. And it's educating my people on how to use them. And I mean, one thing we've done on the Rapid Suite for years is, we came out of the gate neutral. So we always say no material is better than the other, it's just different. So it's learning how that material works and making it, we're coming out the whole series on how to analyze a film and get it up to speed really quick. So you're not making mistakes, because if you're at one film like another film, you're going to have some issues. And so how do you, I know a lot of customers come in and they want a specific brand. And if you don't have that in stock, are there any tips and tricks you can give people on how to educate them? Like, this other brand's okay. It's just as good, it's just different, but you can have the trust in me. Do you find that a situation that comes up very often?
I'm actually going to kind of comment there as far as and go with what Nick said. There was something that stood out to me as far as educating, your customer in that case. It is, there's so many options there, but I think there's times too that we're feeling supply chain issues. Your customers are feeling supply chain issues too. So it's a little bit different than, where times past where, you couldn't get a specific product or you couldn't get something and it was just specific to us. This is across the world basically. So I feel like that there's a little bit of understanding on the customer side, somewhat, even with pricing change, because I don't think I've gotten as big of a pushback on, hey, I can't get, a 3M product or an Avery product or, this particular thing. I feel like everybody is on the same page in that. It's a little easier for me, in our experience to sell the, hey, we have this, here's another like product that we can get. So
that's a great point. And just a hint for just to look forward to in the panel discussion number 3, we're going to go really deep on supply chain and really understanding why it's happening. So I see some comments where like, are the big companies or big distributors hoarding material? It's definitely not the case, but I definitely want to demystify that for sure. So let's move on to the next question. And I'm going to dip into the koozie and pull it out. And we have, Manfred couldn't join us today. So was that Bruno's next? Oh, we got Alex. Alex, number 3. One question that comes up year after year is how to find a good work-life balance in the wrap industry. It is very, very easy to work super long days, work the weekends, and skip vacations. What are good tips you can give the attendees?
That is a loaded question. One thing that I've had to learn to do over the years is stop overcommitting. Like down and really look at my schedule and allocate extra time for things to go wrong, so you're not, not putting yourself in a bind. Not being afraid to add staff if you have to add staff in order to accommodate those things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's really hard for one person to do it all, especially when you overpack your schedule. I'm lucky. We have a big team. There's 15 of us in our shop, supporting in different areas, and so that helps. But I myself, being an entrepreneur, was doing that. I was working, burning the midnight oil. I have kids at home that I should have been at home with, and finally had to kind of slap myself in the face and listen. This is just work at the end of the day. Delegate to elevate, letting other people handle things that you may be trying to handle yourself, making sure that, sending my employees off for certifications instead of, being the only one that can be relied on specific things. Hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
No, it was great. And I think one thing that I learned years ago, and it was hard, but in a phrase I put together with is like, if you can't say no, you can't grow. And have you guys found that the case where, but the thing is, how do you learn, what do you learn to say no to? It's a risk. So all of you have become successful, and hopefully I can see that just, you don't look like you work weekends and late nights and stuff like that. How did you get to that point?
Yeah, I'll chime in on this one, if you don't mind. I made a fair few notes, and Alex is exactly right with the poor time management was probably the biggest thing. But I also want to mention goals. So there's nothing wrong with doing 20-hour days, but as long as that's your goal. I never regret anything that I've done in the past. I used to do crazy hours, 7 days a week, but that set the foundation up. So now that I'm at a point with my kids, I can back it off. So I think you need to do those big days and build that foundation. You can't just go straight into 8-hour days, 5 days a week and create a great company. I think you got to put the hard work in, but knowing at what point and what goals do you want. If that's your goal for 5 years, to work hard and set it up, well, that's a great goal, but just keep that consistent. Even a goal of a money turnover, we've got that now weekly, that we have a goal that we want to hit. So if we have to do an extra day or some OT or overtime, so, we make sure that we target that. But that's one of the goals, and then we cap it. And then we also have 5 clients that we don't say no to, but everyone else we have to say no to. And that's just because those 5 clients we know are key players that make our business successful. So if they ring, but then on the flip side of that, we actually use allocation time through the week so we can service those 5 clients, so that we're not doing the monster days. So our Friday's booked very, very light, because on Monday, our week looks like it's all possible, and by Friday, it's chaos. So everything drags into that Friday, and then we're all having Saturdays, we're with our family. Ever since my first daughter, I still kept going hard until I had my second daughter. Is then when I realized there's a lot more than just business. And if I could take anything back, I'd probably spend that extra year with my first daughter, because that extra job does nothing at the end of the week. All you do is keep saying yes. And yeah, you're putting money aside, but what are you gaining? There's a lot more to life than just money and working, I guess.
But are you basically, sorry to go back to your point earlier, are you saying that I'm not going to become rich and famous overnight? Like, dude.
How many years have you been going?
No, but I think a lot of people coming in don't understand that you do have to put in the time. I think that's it. But it's learning how to, at one point, do you give it up and start handing it over and saying no? And how do you find that? So anyone else want to chime in on this topic? Because I think it's a big one. Krystal or Tim? Destiny?
Well, I seem to remember that, Justin, you didn't even start down this path in life until you'd already wrapped 3,000 vehicles.
Yep.
So just like Nick, just like you said, you got to set the foundation. You've got to bury your nose in there, and you just got to grind it out until you build that firm footing. But we all have to come to that realization that, okay, this is not the end all and be all of who I am, and learning to say no. That's what I think most of us really struggle with, is just being able to step back and go, okay, this is in my wheelhouse. This is where my profitability is. This is where my passion and my heart is. This is best for me to just refer off to someone else.
Yeah. Client expectations is a big thing. You've got to educate the client. We still get it, like 24-hour turnarounds. And it's like, that we're the wrong shop. Don't come here. as bad as that sounds. But I'm
No,
not
but
gonna
it's a
do
good
24
answer. It's a
Yeah,
good answer.
exactly, yeah. There's guys and girls that will do 24 hours, but that's not us.
Right.
So I got, so if you don't mind, I'm going to go on to the next question. And
Can I jump?
Oh,
Can I
please, yeah.
ask? So I know the answers are kind of big picture. I'm a mom, so I have 2 boys, and I kind of look at the question a little bit differently. What do I do to turn it off? Because I mean, you're grinding from bell to bell, and what do I do? What I do before I go home is literally I call it, one of my team members is like 1 minute dance party. So I'm in my car. I've had a heck of a day, and I'm stressed to the max. I driving home, white knuckling home because it's just a stressful day. I don't want to take that into my family. And I feel like that may be, another part to this question is, they're wanting to see me happy and smile. And I don't want to happy and smile. I want to just, what I do literally is, I'm sorry, I don't know why that's doing it. Is I'm in my car, I take a minute at 1 minute dance party. I'm like, wiggle, shake it all out. Yeah, I do it in front of my door. Hopefully nobody has access to my nest because it's like, I'm all like, ring or whatever. And then I literally open the door and I'm smiling. It is so hard. That is probably the hardest thing in my day is to take the office and put it behind me, open my door. And I'm like, yay, everything's great and wonderful. Close the door. It's just what I do. It works, but sometimes it doesn't.
I agree 100%.
It's better than beer and drugs.
Yes.
So I got, all right, I got another question. We have another 6 minutes. So I'm going to go in here and we have Krystal. You are up. All right. Every company grows and pivots over the years. And what changes did you make in 2021 in terms of sales and focus? And what are your plans for 2022?
Awesome. I love this question. I think I hit the ceiling with my word of mouth sales from 2018 to 2021. And for me, that was a big hit because I'm like, I want to keep growing. I want to keep growing. And I haven't had to advertise or go out on market and sell myself. I've just always had business. And so that kind of changed this year, especially with COVID. I was able to acquire 2 employees that were ready to hit the ground running with their skills. They're my unicorns, I call them, and I tell them I'm thankful for them every single day. So that was my first big investment with hiring 2 skilled employees. I didn't have to train anybody off the bat. They were ready to go. And then I have them set up so they've trained, they've learned Candy Wraps, the way we do things. And now in 2022, I actually signed on with KickCharge so that they could create a website for me, work on SEO, and things like that to really bring my site or my business to, all the local businesses here. Because I do a lot of fleet and national account stuff too. So I definitely want to get into my local businesses here. And after that site launches, I actually have a sales guy ready to go. He's got sales packets ready to go. He could sell ice to Eskimos. So I just took the time this was our slow year. This was the time I got to take time off with my kids, plan extra vacations, and really invest in the business and look at where I wanted to be in a year from now. So.
Nice. And how did you, because you're a freelance installer for a while and you're kind of pivoting and growing, you could have just stayed a freelance installer. What made you want to grow and get employees and get to the point where you're at?
I used to collect trophies with 16, 20, 24-hour days, and they sit on my shelf. You can't see them, but I have trophies galore. And being able to tell you that I took time off this year, a random day here and there because I needed to get things done. I needed to take a mental day, which I'd never done any time before this year or last. Our industry is really recognizing that especially when you have all those trophies and you grinded for so long, we need to take that time off. And so getting to that point now is where I wanted to be. And had I been a freelance installer, I probably would have never learned to tell people no. Our industry has a bunch of browbeaters. They're intimidating us to get things done. I'm about quality, and I'm also about getting paid at the end of the day. So I was ready to focus on a sign shop. That was always my goal, was to have a printer, to be able to make the money on the square footage versus just installing, because whatever you install as a subcontractor, you had to install every single square foot of that. There's no extra icing on top. So those are a couple of things that I learned and where I wanted to be, and now I'm here. So
Great. That's awesome stuff. And, as you said that, it reminded me, I think it's interesting how I think COVID really made people step back in the rep industry. For me, I stopped traveling so much, but also you look at the athletes, like at the Olympics, you look at the athletes who are like, you know what, I'm not going to, it's too much. I'm going to step back right now. And I don't care if I don't get a gold or the sponsorships are going to dry up. It's my mental health. And it's been a very interesting time that people are recognizing that. And would you guys say, I don't know, as busy as the industry is getting, it's interesting to see these people finding that work-life balance. And do you find that it's actually but oddly enough, oddly enough, you stepping back and saying no, but I don't know, I found that I'm making just as much money or having a more comfortable life than ever before. Do you guys find that the same?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
It was
It's
like it was a
interesting.
pause. I'm sorry. It was like it was a
Yeah.
pause. You got to actually pause. You don't ever get to pause. You don't ever get a hold button or any of that. It's like everybody states, it's bell to bell. And you actually got to pause to, step back and look at what's important and what's not important.
Yeah, I mean, for me, even like on this event last year, we did the whole streaming event live, and it was great and it was exciting. And we put a ton of energy into it. But I have such a better team now. I have Marcos and Reiner and Sergey put this together, and we have Pascal, and we have the ladies, and Julie and Cassie, stuff like that. So I have a bigger team that works really well together. So this is great, and I couldn't have done that last year. And COVID really taught me to step back and just be like, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. We'll delegate, let people do stuff they're doing stuff better than I could, which is great.
I'll chime in on that. You can't micromanage. I think you got to just trust and let your employees do their role. Even I've noticed, Justin, how quick you've grown in a year, and I can see it's the team behind you. You know what I mean? When we did Rap Life, it was me and you heavily involved. So, you know what I mean? Like now you could almost delegate a fair few trustworthy staff that you can trust that, straight away you're micromanaging. Really, you can still get to the end result a different way. You don't have to do it always your way. Which
is great stuff. So speaking of that, by the way, the half hour is gone. These panel discussions go by so quick, but this means we have the breakout session. For all of you out there watching the session right now, definitely go to the breakout session, because now you can ask questions live, get answers, so please put comments in the chat section, or just jump on the screen and ask questions for sure. Just make sure you're wearing clothes, please. But that's the only request. We also have more stuff coming up on the Rap Experience. We have the Never Stop Learning contest at the very end, so make sure you get your time jumped in for that, because that's a $900 prize. And the panel discussion number 3 is going to be a good one, along with all the other stuff. So panelists, great work. Let's jump to the breakout session and let's keep on going with that. So awesome stuff. Appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Ciao.